So Shedeur Sanders put this out on social media this past weekend. He stated, it's no excuses, putting in the work. And I gotta agree with him 110%. It says, do what I've got to do. About to be time to be legendary when that time is. Whenever that time is, Shedeur Sanders' message of the season.
Hold up. Let's get one thing straight right now. This wasn't just a rookie hyping himself up on Instagram. This wasn't one of those vague, grinding, head-down captions we see from every player in the league. No, what Shedeur Sanders posted was a line in the sand. About to be time to be legendary. Read that again. Let it sink in. That's not a wish. That's not a hope. That's a declaration of war. A fifth-round rookie quarterback walking into one of the most chaotic QB rooms in the NFL, looking at veterans with years in the league, looking at all the doubts swirling around him and saying, get ready. My time is coming. You feel that? That's different. And that's exactly why this post shook Cleveland. Because Browns fans have seen it all. They've watched quarterbacks roll through Berea with polished PR lines and cookie-cutter soundbites. Excited to be here. Just focused on learning. Taking it one day at a time. It's the same script every single time. And do you know what those words have given Cleveland? Heartbreak. A jersey with more names crossed out than any fan base should ever have to endure. Decades of pain. That's why this hits differently. Because Shedeur didn't show up with a script. He showed up with a mission. Think about the weight of those words coming from him. Shedeur isn't a first-round pick handed the keys to the franchise. He's not walking into camp with a guaranteed starting job. He's a fifth-rounder surrounded by a veteran in Kenny Pickett who's desperate for redemption, a beloved mentor in Joe Flacco, and a rookie peer in Dillon Gabriel who's been called the smart choice by analysts. And still, with all of that, Shedeur goes on social media and tells the world he's about to be legendary. That's not cocky. That's calculated. That's a young man who's been doubted his whole career and learned how to weaponize that doubt. And let's not ignore how this plays in the locker room. Because trust me, players notice. Coaches notice. Analysts notice. ESPN Cleveland called it out. The national perception is heavy on Shedeur. Because when you see him throw, when you watch how he carries himself, it's different. And now when that same guy says it's about to be time, it's not just empty talk. It's belief backed by preparation. This is why it matters. Cleveland hasn't just been waiting for a quarterback who can make throws. They've been waiting for a quarterback who can make them believe again. And Shedeur Sanders with one perfectly timed post just told the city, I'm not here to blend in. I'm here to take over. And if you think that's just hype, stick around. Because this message didn't just stir up fans. It put the entire Browns quarterback room on notice. If you really want to understand why Shedeur's post hit like a bombshell, you've got to look inside that Browns quarterback room. Because honestly, it's chaos. Let's start with Kenny Pickett. Look, I don't hate the guy. He's a fighter. He gave Pittsburgh everything he had. But if we're being real, he didn't deliver. 2 seasons, 13 touchdowns. 13, that's barely won a game. Add in 13 interceptions and what do you have? A quarterback who never scared defenses and never quite became the guy the Steelers hoped he'd be. That's why he's in Cleveland now. Not because Pittsburgh couldn't live without him, but because they could. He's a veteran, sure, but he's a placeholder, a bridge, and bridges don't last forever. Then there's Dillon Gabriel. I'll give him credit, the kid is sharp. He's got that mental edge you want from a quarterback. He processes quickly. He's savvy. But this isn't Oklahoma. This is the NFL. And the truth is his physical limitations are real. Those windows that looked wide open in college. In the pros, they're barely a sliver. And when the game speeds up, and it always does, can he keep up? That's the question nobody has an answer for yet. And of course there's Joe Flacco, the steady hand, the veteran present, the guy who came in last season and gave this team a little stability when everything else was falling apart. But let's be honest here, Joe is 39. He's not the future. He's barely the present. He's here to teach, to be insurance. Maybe to win you a couple games if things get ugly. But he's not here to carry this franchise back to relevance. So what does that leave? It leaves Shedeur Sanders, the wild card, the one with the charisma and raw upside to not just win the job but to win the locker room. And let me tell you, that matters. Because this isn't just about who throws the best spiral or who knows Kevin Stefanski's playbook inside and out. This is about who can make that locker room believe, who can make the dog pound believe. And Shedeur, he's already doing it. And maybe that's why his post felt so electric. About to be time to be legendary. He's not saying he's coming for QB3 reps. He's not saying he's happy to sit and learn for a season. He's saying he's coming for the throne, and that's exactly what Cleveland has been waiting for. Remember that infamous jersey of broken promises? All those names stitched on the back. All those quarterbacks who came in with hype and left with disappointment. This city has lived through too many false dawns. But here's what makes Shedeur different. He's not just talking like he's the future. He's acting like it. And in a room full of placeholders and question marks, that's the kind of presence that can change everything. And if you don't believe, just wait. Because this quarterback battle isn't settled. Not even close. And the more open it stays, the more dangerous Shedeur becomes. Let's talk about the noise. Because if we're gonna have an honest conversation about Shedeur Sanders, we can't just ignore it. It's been loud. It's been relentless. The speeding tickets, the hot takes, the headlines about immaturity. And then you've got Tony Grossi on ESPN Cleveland throwing out what might be the coldest take of the offseason, predicting Shedeur is going to spend a lot of this season inactive on Sundays. Inactive? For a guy who walked into the league with the pedigree, the poise and the promise that Shedeur has, that's not just doubt. That's outright disrespect. And here's the thing about Cleveland. This fan base has been burned so many times they're skeptical by default. They've seen the hype trains. They've seen the saviors roll through the doors in Berea, only to end up as another name stitched onto that jersey of broken promises. So yeah, I get it. The doubts are real. But here's where the national narrative misses the point entirely. Because the people who are actually in the building, the ones watching Shedeur every single day, they're saying something completely different. ESPN Cleveland boots on the ground guys who've seen every throw this offseason talked about his willingness to fire into tight windows, about how his mechanics already look NFL ready. Do you know how rare that is for a rookie quarterback? Especially one the media keeps calling a project. That's not the language you use for someone who's just here to sit and learn. That's the language you use for someone who's going to push his way onto the field. And here's where it gets interesting. If you study the greats, there's a pattern. Tom Brady heard he was too slow, too skinny, too average to ever start in the league. Aaron Rodgers sat in a draft room, humiliated as team after team passed on him. Jalen Hurts, he was benched on the biggest stage in college football and told he'd never be an elite NFL passer. What did all of them do? They used that disrespect as fuel. They sharpened it into an edge, and they came back for blood. That's what I see in Shedeur right now. This isn't a kid pouting over the criticism. He's weaponizing it. You can feel it in that social media post. About to be time to be legendary. That wasn't just motivation. That was a promise. He's not ignoring the doubters. He's thanking them for giving him more to prove. And that's what makes this so dangerous for the rest of the quarterback room. Because a rookie with talent is one thing, but a rookie with talent, poise and a chip on his shoulder, that's someone who can flip a depth chart upside down. And if the analysts are right, if this QB battle is truly wide open, then the more they doubt Shedeur, the more dangerous he becomes. Let's be clear about something. Shedeur Sanders didn't just wake up one day with this kind of confidence. This didn't come out of nowhere. This swagger, this poise, this unshakable presence, it's been forged. And if you've been paying attention, you already know exactly where it came from. The prime blueprint. Deion Sanders didn't just teach his son how to play football. He taught him how to own a room, how to control the narrative before anyone else can write it for you, how to work so relentlessly behind the scenes that when the lights hit, you don't flinch. That's the old school DNA. That's prime. But here's the thing. Shedeur didn't just copy-paste his father's style. He evolved it. He took that blueprint and retooled it for 2025. For a generation that doesn't just want to see highlights on Sundays but wants authenticity every single day. Look at how he's handled himself since Jackson State. Shedeur wasn't just the coach's kid parachuting into an HBCU program. He was the quarterback who turned that team into a national headline. He led under pressure. He carried a locker room that could have easily fractured under the weight of all that attention. He stood tall in the chaos when Deion's every move was making national news. That's when we first saw that poise. The same poise that's now turning heads in Berea. Then came Colorado. And if you really want to know what someone is made of, you watch what they do when everything around them is collapsing. That offensive line, a disaster. The media noise, deafening. Yet Shedeur still threw for over 3,200 yards and 27 touchdowns. He didn't quit. He didn't fold. He elevated. That's the prime DNA showing up when it matters most. But here's where Shedeur takes it further than even his father did. He's building his own empire in real time. He's in the room when his NIL deals are negotiated. He's co-creating content, telling his story his way, giving fans direct access to who he really is. He's not just letting the media shape his image. He's controlling it. That's not ego. That's strategy. And in today's NFL, that's power. This is why that post about to be time to be legendary hits so hard. It's not just words. It's the product of a lifetime of preparation, of lessons passed down from prime and refined into Shedeur's own identity. He's more than a rookie quarterback trying to make a roster. He's a cultural force, a leader, someone who understands that being the face of a franchise means more than what happens on 3rd and long. And if that's what he's already bringing to Cleveland before taking a single NFL snap, Imagine what happens when he's the one under center on Sunday. Cleveland, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt this way about a quarterback? Be honest. When was the last time a single player made you feel like maybe, just maybe, all those years of pain, all those jerseys of broken promises, were leading to this moment? Because that's what Shedeur Sanders is doing right now. And the crazy part, he hasn't even taken a snap in an NFL game yet. This isn't just about one social media post. It's not just about some catchy phrase like about to be time to be legendary. It's about what that phrase represents. It's about a young man who understands that Cleveland isn't looking for someone to play quarterback. They're looking for someone to lead, someone to carry the weight of a city that has been waiting decades for a savior under center. That post wasn't a flex. It wasn't empty hype. It was a rookie quarterback planting his flag and saying, "I'm not here to blend in. I'm here to change everything." And you can feel it in the way fans are talking, in how the media can't stop dissecting every throw, and how his teammates are already buying into his presence. This isn't just a quarterback battle. This feels bigger. This feels like the start of something Cleveland hasn't seen in a long time. Think about what that means. A fifth-round pick, walking into one of the most chaotic QB rooms in the NFL. And instead of playing it safe, instead of hiding behind its a process cliches, he looks the entire football world in the eye and says he's about to be legendary. That's not just confidence. That's ownership. That's a mentality that screams, "I'm not waiting my turn. I'm taking it." And Cleveland, this is where you come in. Because this can't just be Shedeur's journey. This has to be ours. This city has been through enough heartbreak. You deserve more than another name on that cursed jersey. You deserve a quarterback who's willing to walk into the fire and take the hits with you. And that's exactly what Shedeur is showing you he's ready to do. So here's the big question. Are we witnessing the birth of a franchise savior? Or is this just another chapter in Cleveland's long book of almosts? I don't know how this season plays out. Nobody does. But I do know this. Shedeur Sanders has already shown us something different. Something real. And in a league full of noise, that's worth believing in. So buckle up, Browns fans. Get loud. Buy in. Because if this really is the start of something legendary, you're gonna want to say you were here when it all began.